So today we're going to use factor trees to simplify radical expressions. So here on part A we have the square root of 200. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find two factors that multiply to 200. So my first guess would be 2 and 100. Then I try and break down 2. What goes into 2? Now I can do 1 and 2, but 1 for this case doesn't really count. So nothing else will go into 2. So that's what I call a prime factor. So I'm going to stop whenever I have prime factors. The next one that I need to break down is 100. So what goes into 100? Let's say 4 and 25. What goes into 4, 2, and 2? Again, they're 2, so they can't be broken down. And 25 can be broken down into 5 and 5. What goes into 5? Again, nothing other than 1. So now what I do is I look for pairs. So here I have a pair of 5s and a pair of 2s, but this 2 doesn't have a pair to partner up with. So I'm going to underline him. Now for every circle, I can take out one of those numbers. So I'm going to take out a 2 and a 5. Everything that's underlined will be left underneath the radical. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply 2 times 5, which gets me 10, and the radical 2 just stays like it is. So that's your simplified radical. So now moving on to 125. So what goes into 125? Because it ends in 5, I know 5 and then 25. Again, 5 cannot be broken down. 25 can break down into 5 and 5. So I have a pair of 5s and a 5 left over. So I'm going to put 1 5 on the outside and 1 5 is left on the inside. That is my simplified term. For letter C, I have this negative 5 on the outside. I'm going to ignore it until the end. So I'm going to break down 112. It ends in a 2, so it's an even number. So I know 2 will go into it and 56 will go into it. Again, 2 cannot be broken down, so I break 56 down. What goes into 56? 2 and 28. Okay, what goes into 28? 2 and 14. What goes into 14? 2 and 7. 7 cannot be broken down. So once I'm at prime factors at the end, I'm going to circle the pairs. So I have 2 circles with 2 and a 7 left over. Okay, so on the outside I'll have 2, 2, and don't forget about the negative 5. On the inside I will have just a plain old 7. So now I need to multiply 2 times negative 5, which will get me negative 20, and the square root of 7. Part D. Now I have numbers and letters. So I start breaking down just like I did before. What goes into 63? Let's see. 9 and 7. What goes into 9? 3 and 3. I cannot break down 7, and I cannot break down 3 anymore. So I circle my pairs, underline what's left. So now I have to break down the t. T to the 4th is the same as having 4 separate t's. And again, I circle any pairs that I can. So now when I'm looking at what goes on the outside, I have a 3, I have 2 t's, which will be t to the 2nd, indicating that there's 2 of them, and a 7 is left behind in the radical. Okay. For part E, now I have a letter on the inside and 5 on the outside. Sorry, I said that wrong. I have 1 on the outside and 5 on the inside. So I'm going to break down this 150. So 3 and 50. I can't break down 3, but 50 can break down into 2 and 25. Can't break down 2, but 25 can be broken down into 5 and 5. Okay, I have a pair of 5s. 2 does not have a partner and 3 does not have a partner. So then I break down x to the 5th, which is 5 x's. And I circle. So pair here, and this guy doesn't have a pair. Okay. On the outside, I have an x that I began with. Then I can take out a 5 and 2 more x's. On the inside, I'm going to have 3, 2, and an x left over. So 3 times 2 times x. Okay. On the outside, I need to multiply and combine. So 5, I don't have anything to multiply it with, so I'll just keep it as 5. X and x to the second make a total of 3 x's on the outside. Then the square root. 3 times 2 will give me 6 x on the inside. I would like you to pause here and try letter F on your own. The second set of examples has you multiplying 2 radicals together before you simplify. So this first part, you're doing square root of 6 times square root of 30. When you multiply those together, you'll get the square root of 180. So now you have 180 to break down. Well, you actually have your 2 factors right here. Now you could use 18 and 10 or 2 and 90. Any combination will work, but I think the 6 and the 30, since I just multiplied them together to get 180, will work just fine. And then to break down 6, I'm going to use 2 and 3. To break down 30, I'll use 6 and 5. And then I can break down 6 into another 2 and 3. So now I circle my pairs and underline what I have left. So I can take out a 2 and a 3 and a 5 is left behind. So 2 times 3 is going to be 6 with a square root of 5. For letter B, I have numbers on the outside and numbers on the inside. Well, that's pretty easy. I just multiply the outsides together and then I'll multiply the insides together. So negative 4 times, remember this is an invisible 1, gets you negative 4. Square root of 7 times 47 times 42 is going to be 294. Again, I have to break down this radical. I'm going to again use 7 and 42 because that's how I got 294. So 7 is a prime right away. 42 can break down into 7 and 6. And then 6 can be broken down into 2 and 3. So here I have a pair of 7s. I have a leftover 2 and a leftover 3. I have negative 4 on the outside to begin with. I had a pair of 7s, so a 7 can go outside as well. The 2 and the 3 didn't have a pair, so they both have to stay underneath the radical. So then negative 7 times 4 is going to give you negative 28, with a square root of 2 times 3 is 6. Letter C is a little bit more complicated. Now, not only do we have numbers on the outside, numbers on the inside, we also have letters on the inside. Now, it's the same principle. I'm going to multiply the outside numbers together, so negative 3 times 2 will get me negative 6. I'll also multiply the inside numbers together. So 40 times 56 will get me 2,240. I multiply the letters as well. There's an x here and 5 x's here. That gets me x to the 6th. Next, it's just about breaking down. So my factors of 2,240, I'm going to use 40 and 56. To break down 40, I can use 5 and 8. 5 is already a prime, 8 can break down into 4 and 2, and then 4 can break down into 2 and 2. Next, for the 56, I can break that down into 9 and 6. 9 can be broken down into 3 and 3. 6 can be broken down into 2 and 3. Whew. Next up is x to the 6th, which are 6 individual x's. So now I'm going to circle my pairs. I have 3 pairs of x's. So I'm going to also circle the numbers that I have pairs of. I have a pair of 2's here. I have a pair of 2's here. I have a pair of 3's. I have a 3 left over and a 5 left over. So now I'm going to write all the numbers that I have on the outside. I'm actually going to start with the number that started on the outside to begin with. So -6, and then I circled 2. I circled another set of 2 and a 3, and I circled 1, 2, 3 sets of x's. So x to the 3rd will also be on the outside. On the inside, I have a 5 and a 3 left over, so 5 times 3. Now I have to multiply -6 times 2 times 2 times 3. So -6 times 2 times 2 times 3 will get me -72 x to the 3rd, and then 5 times 3 will give me 15. That should be my simplified answer. I would like you to now pause the video and do letter D.